Here we go. A little bit further out, a little bit further out. Wobbly, very wobbly. Is that clear? I can't tell. So we are just driving away from seeing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We are going to go into spoiler territory because I don't think you can effectively talk about the film without that. Unless you just go, well, yeah, it was great, good action, and it was funny. That's not really what I want to do. So spoilers from here on in, and some very unflattering red light. Not my colour. I thought that was really good. Is it in like my top 5 Marvel films? No. Did I really enjoy it as a film? Yes. What I thought was interesting was if you look at building from Iron Man, the MCU, up to the 2-part of Infinity War and Endgame, I think the build is really, really clear, story-wise. Whereas looking at what's suggested in a lot of the stuff that we're getting out of Marvel at the moment, I think whatever it's building is a lot more subtle. Because you look at Loki, you look at WandaVision, you look at Legend of the Ten Rings, and it's lots of other universe, other dimension talk, but there's nothing massively solid outside of Kang the Conqueror. So I think with this phase, I think they're just going for a bit more grand world building rather than plot building, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's certainly that here, with the whole big wall of dragon scales holding off to another universe where there are other things, yeah, etc, etc. I thought the look and the design of this was stunning. It's obviously very Eastern influenced. The choreography from the opening scene is just beautiful, absolutely amazing. Really loved it. And let's be clear, they're not fight scenes, it is choreography. The script had a lot more humour than I was expecting, which I kind of should know better really from Marvel by now, but actually didn't expect it to be as funny as it was, and it is very funny. We did 4DX 3D. The 3D was great. I've got to admit, again, I found the 4DX to be a bit much. The battle sequences in particular.
I kind of liked it, but I think what it seems to be is that they really seem to be leaning into the 4DX now, whereas I think a lot of the movies went to before is like, yeah, they do it for like sequences, but it wouldn't be like constant, for a better phrase. I don't know if that's because of COVID, whether they've actually got, I don't know, more time to code it up or whatever it might be. But like, obviously, we've been to see 2 4DX movies now.
Both Marvel, both
obviously very action heavy. But they really do seem to be leaning into all of the aspects of 4DX now. So, yes, you get a lot more of the shake, but you also get a lot more of the sensory stuff, which they seem to kind of skip a lot of the time.
No, see, the thing is so that side of it is to me what 4DX was in 2015, 2016. And what had actually happened was they'd got lazy and not fucking bothered with it. They just threw you around in your seat and didn't do the sensory shit. They'd kind of just got a bit crap about it. Because I can remember, possibly in another one of these videos even, pre-pandemic, saying that they've just basically taken the 4DX, done away with the wind, the lights, the bubbles, the whatever. I mean, bubbles they've done away with anyway. Oh, I just got to move my arm because it's killing me. But I think it's completely going out of focus, and the light's great. So they have kind of, they had got to a point where they'd kind of, I think, done that away a bit and just made it all about the throwing you around in your chair. But what I found with this was, they've gone back to doing the sense and all the rest of it, and the gentler stuff. But the action sequences, it's just too much, and I can't tell what the hell's going on the screen because I'm far too busy being thrown around in my chair. I think they go too far with that now. Or perhaps I'm just getting old. Who knows? Thought the cast was great. So yeah, I was talking about the design, wouldn't I? So I think it's very nice, very clearly influenced, and you know, rightly so, given the culture the story's set in and all the rest of it. I think I had read, but had completely forgotten that Tony Slattery was back in this.
I was completely unaware.
Is it Tony Slattery? Or is he a comedian off of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley's character, anyway.
I think that's the name of his character.
I'm sure it's Tony Slattery. Even though, like I said,
It's definitely something Slattery.
Yeah, God, I'm really wobbly tonight. And he's a much bigger part of the film. And it's nice because, I mean, I wasn't massively familiar with Mandarin as a character at the point of Iron Man 3. But I've obviously got lots of Marvel friends who sort of were like, oh yeah, it's clever what they've done, because it would be a bit weird bringing the Mandarin in because it's all a bit magic and yada 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 yada. And here we are, that was 2013, so 8 years later, and they've built the world to a point where it just feels completely natural and part of the universe.
Plus, I think they'd have struggled to bring the Mandarin in
at that point.
Not even that, but as he was in the comics, because in the comics he was very much, should we say, a Western stereotype.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Like, you know, at various points the character would run around in, again, you know, a villain, which is always, you know, not a great positioning to be in, depending on how it's handled, but basically would run around in like full samurai armour in various incarnations.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, all a bit.
Which, wouldn't that be Japanese, not Chinese?
Yeah, which is obviously, you know, another
part of the problem.
Yes, it was, you know, generic Asian villain.
Yeah. Yellow Peril.
Yeah, it was very much a product of the time.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, cause I remember there being a lot of, oh, is that the 10 Rings then? When obviously it came out in...
Because he had rings on each finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, the whole...
Yeah, see, I didn't even know about that, so that would have meant nothing to me.
Yeah, is that it then? So, you know, this was very cleverly done in terms of building up to, you know, what the 10 Rings, I think, should be in terms of the, you know, the main comic thrust.
So yeah, great to see him back. Loved Morris.
Yes.
Again, back to the kind of creature design and there was a lot of mythological dragons. But
they are all. I mean, I don't know a huge amount about like sort of the folklore of that part of the world, but I'm pretty sure they were all like genuine, like sort of Chinese, East and Southern Asian.
Well, what struck me was there was the kind of sort of chimera lion type things that very much reminded me of a lot of architecture and statues you see from that culture.
Because I think Morris as well, the type of creature that he is,
the chicken pig.
Yeah, it is actually an established creature in like Chinese folklore. I just have no idea what it's called.
No, nor me. So we. I think I have my finger on the microphone. We're about to go on the motorway. It's going to get really dark for a bit as we go up the slip road. I'm like some sort of weird phantom at the minute. Ooh, there I am. So I thought it was great. Really enjoyed it. I won't talk about the mid and end credits
because they need to be watched.
Because, well, no, apart from anything else, is there was one moment I went, ooh, and another moment I probably went about that. So again, it's the world building, it's the leading out, and I think the other thing this does is, for what is essentially a male-dominated story, it served the female characters very well.
Yes.
And just beautiful. So yeah, I'd say if you're going to go see it, if you can handle 3D, the 3D's worth a watch, because there are some truly gorgeous moments for the 3D. Wouldn't necessarily worry about 4DX, but it's very much its DNA is very much the Marvel universe, and the setup for any new Marvel part of the franchise or character for sure. However, because it's the first non-Western character, because I mean, even when you look at the off-world stuff like Guardians or Thor, it's still got a very Western vibe to it.
Yes.
I think because this has the sort of Eastern Hemisphere origins, it's one that's worth seeing on the big screen, and I think that's probably we've just lost our light. So at that point, we'll say goodnight.